Hello everybody, welcome back to Camille's Cozy Chronicles. I'm Camille and today we are talking about my April reads. I have 23 books to talk about, you guys. And I'm really proud of myself because most of them are physical books. I only have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ebooks, and the rest of them are either an audiobook or a physical book. I'm so excited. So let's just jump right in. We'll just talk about the first one here. This is Embergold by Rachelle Nelson. I gave this book 5 stars. It came out in March, like right during the middle or the end of March, I think. And this, it's a dragon book. As you guys can tell by the cover, it's really, really pretty. I really love it. But this book is about Guild, and she lives with her father in like a swamp. And her father is very secretive and doesn't really tell her anything. She is really sheltered. They don't really have contact with any other people except for the few people that live with them and then the people that work for her father. So one day her father comes and says, "Hey, we're going on a trip." And she's like, "Oh, this is great. I'm excited. Let's go." And then he hands her over to a dragon. Not the best father. Not the best father at all. But that's all I can really tell you about this book. I really loved it. It was so good. There was a really good allegory that was just so, so sweet at the end. I think I might have cried at the very end because it was just so sweet, and I just really loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. I took my time reading this book because I love Rachelle Nelson's, her prose and her descriptions and just the way she writes. Everything's just so beautiful, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss like a single piece of this book because it was so beautiful, you guys. I loved it so much. This is a reread. This is The Roads We Lost by Nicole Deese. This is the first book in the Fog Harbor romance series. It is about Ingrid, and she is an editor for the Fog Harbor Publishing House. And she is dealing with the loss of her best friend who died unexpectedly. And it turns out that her best friend was also a fantasy author, and nobody can find her next fantasy book. Like the last book she wrote ended on a big cliffhanger, and then she died and nobody knows where the manuscript is. So when her best friend's cousin, I think his name is Joel, shows up with a mysterious package from her best friend, she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is like the missing manuscript." And it leads to a whole other series of memories and we get to read about their younger lives, because when Ingrid and Joel and their best friend were growing up, they were all like super, super close. Joel is Cece, which is the best friend. Joel is Cece's cousin, so they were all really close. And Joel and Ingrid were young, like lovers, not like lovers, but like they loved each other. And so it's like a second chance romance. It can be really sad just because of like all of the grief and everything, but it's so good, and it has such good faith themes and faith content that it's just so, I just love it. This was a reread because the third book in the series came out last month, and I had to be caught up on the whole series so I could be ready for the third book. So anyways, 5 stars. I really loved it. The next book is The Roads We Follow by Nicole Deese. This is the second book in the Fog Harbor romance series. And this book is about Reagan, and Reagan, she dreams of being a published author. That's her whole big goal in life. But she has a problem because her mother is a famous country singer, and she doesn't want her books to do well just because her last name is the same as her mother's. So she's trying to publish them under a pseudonym. But then she finds out that an anonymous author is writing a tell-all full of juicy gossip and stuff about her mother. So she's trying to figure out how to stop that. And at the same time, her mother is kind of eccentric, and she tells Reagan and is there 2 other sisters? I think. And her 2 other sisters that they are going on a cross-country road trip. And all the sisters are like, "Excuse me, what?" everyone has all their own stuff kind of going on, and everyone's kind of like crashing and burning in their own different ways. So they're all like, this is the last thing we need. Plus, they don't really get along very well. So they're like, this is the last thing we need. Mom, are you crazy? And then she meets their bus driver, who happens to be her mother's partner. Like when she first started doing country music, her mother's partner's son. And then they have a little romance. I really, really loved it. Again, with Nicole Deese and the faith content in her books, you guys, they're so good. I've had this book on my TBR cart forever, and I'm really sad that I haven't read it sooner. Honestly, I am. I can't really savor it. I don't really remember too much except for that I really loved it, and it was just so good. And it was just like, you know, it was a good romance. It had good faith themes. It had great sister content and reconciliation, and yeah, it was just really good. I gave it 5 stars. So it was really good. I loved it. Plus the covers on these books, they're just so cute. Like, they're just so cute. So, oh, and these books they're contemporary. It says contemporary romance, but they're like Christian fiction because they're not only romance. You know what I mean? Okay, the next book this was also a reread, is A Light on the Hill by Connilyn Cossette. I gave this book 5 stars again because it deserved all the 5 stars it got. I read this book and I was like, oh my word, now I remember why Connilyn Cossette is one of my favorite authors, because whoa, this is great. I haven't read this book in probably like 3 years, so it was so good. I loved it so much. This book is about Mariah. I think that's how you say her name. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I listened to the audiobook and she said Moria, which just doesn't sound right to me, personally. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't sound that right. So I say Mariah. When she was a little girl, she was actually kidnapped by the Canaanites right before the Israelites marched into Jerusalem, around the wall and everything. And Jerusalem, Jericho, which happened, all of the details in that, if you guys are interested in a little backstory, is Wings on Wings. Is it On Wings? Wings of the Wind by Connilyn Cossette. That's what she's in that book too, which comes right before this one. And while she was in the Canaanite temple, they actually branded her face with the brand that all prostitutes have. And so she is grown up now, and she wears a veil because everybody in Israel thinks that she is a harlot because of the brand on her face. And so she's kind of an outcast. She doesn't really associate with other people. And so her father is getting older, and he's like, I arranged a marriage for you because I want you to be taken care of if something happens to me. In a terrible twist of events, she accidentally poisons her fiance's, or betrothed, not quite yet betrothed because they didn't have the ceremony, twin sons, and they die. So now she is a manslayer, I think, because she didn't intend to kill them. But so she has to flee to a city of refuge because the father of the sons is wanting to kill her, as the biblical law says he has the right to. He does. But so she's running away from him, and then yeah, so that's pretty much what this is about. There's a romance in this book, and the romance is just so good. Oh, I just love this book so much. It's just so special, and I really, really kind of sympathized with Mariah and how she thought like her life was going great, and then everything got turned on its head and turned upside down, and I just love the way that God turns everything for good, even though it seems like nothing good can come out of the situation. Really, really special. I really loved it. So yeah, 5 stars. This is a reread. If you guys love biblical fiction, Connilyn Cossette is where you should start if you don't know where to start. So yes. Okay, the next book is Across the Ages by Gabrielle Meyer. This is book 4 in the Timeless series, and actually book 5 is coming out like so soon, and I am so excited. I love all of these covers. This one, I think this one might have been one of my favorite ones. This one, it's a toss up between the first one and this one, to which one is my favorite, you guys. Like, it was so good. But it's about Caroline. She lives in 1727 and 1927. And in 1727, she lives with her grandfather on a plantation, and he's not the nicest person. And I don't remember what the like motive was for her to run away, but she ends up running away, or like what happened. But her mother is missing, and nobody knows what happened to her. And so she decides, I'm going to run away from home. I'm going to dress up as a boy, a cabin boy, and she gets on this ship to the Bahamas to look for her mother. But the ship that she's on gets taken over by pirates, and then she gets on a pirate ship, and then things ensue. And then in 1927, her father is like a famous minister during Prohibition. Her brothers are kind of sketchy, and so she's keeping her brother's secrets so that they don't ruin her father's reputation. But she's also searching for her mother because she finds out that her mother was alive in this time period as well. So she's searching for her because she doesn't know why these things are happening to her and why she lives two different time periods, and it's like a curse, and she thinks it's like a curse. It was really good. I really liked it. I really liked the premise that, unlike all the other girls in the series, nobody in her life knows what kind of life she lives. And nobody knows why, and nobody knows the reason. And so she doesn't know that she has to, choose a time period, She doesn't know any of those things because her mother didn't know, and her mother abandoned her. So there's also that. I really liked 1727. It was my favorite. Every time the chapter switched from 1727 to 1927, I was like, oh, come on, seriously? I don't care. I like the pirates. Like, it was really good. The romance in this book was so good. And unlike some of the other books, you could really tell that she really was only in love with one person. Like, there wasn't like a really big love triangle, and I was really happy about that because I was like, I don't like those ones with the really big love triangle. So I gave this book 5 stars. That's all I really remember about it, but I really, really liked it. Really, really liked it a lot. Okay, the next book we're going to talk about just real quick, I don't have a copy of, but I want to get one soon, is Leap Day in the Square by Erynn Mangum. This is book 1 in her new series. I don't know what the series is called, but it's book 1 because it says book 1, and that's exciting. But this is about, I don't know their names, but this girl, her dream is to like own a cotton candy truck. And it's going really well, and she has to get a health like the health inspector has to like come okay it, and then the health inspector comes, and he is this guy that was really mean to her in high school, which is not great because she doesn't like him. We don't like him. And so the theme of the book is like forgiveness, and it was so funny because it was like she's talking about how much she can't stand him, and then her sister invites her to Bible study, and guess what the Bible study's theme is? It's forgiveness. It was so funny. I really loved it because we sat through and saw like all the Bible study, and there was just so much great faith content in the book. It was just really good. And that's all I really remember about it. I just loved it though. It was so good. There were so many funny parts that made me laugh. One of the sisters wants to is plotting out the guys that she doesn't like, his she's like, we could take him out to the field and we could bury him, and she's like, and the sheriff knows us, so like it wouldn't be like that big of a deal. It was just so funny. So yeah, I gave that book 5 stars because it was just really funny. Okay, this was my first ARC read. This next book was my first ARC read of April. And you guys, this is my favorite book of April, one of my favorite books of 2025, Caligo by J.J. Fischer. This is a sequel to the Nightingale trilogy. So if you haven't read the Nightingale trilogy, make sure you go and read them before you read this book because, you guys, I just love this book so much. I gave it 5 stars. If I couldn't have given it like a million stars, I'd give it a million stars because it was just so good. This book, if you know the end of the Nightingale trilogy, you know how it ends, and you know how it's kind of like happily ever after for some of the characters, but definitely not all the characters, and you're kind of left wondering like, oh, what about Cass? What happened to Cass? maybe you weren't. Maybe you really liked Dorian, but I love Cass, and I was like, what is gonna happen to Cass? Why didn't he get a happily ever after? This book. This book. Oh, I love this book so much. I can't say too much because everything I say would be spoilers for the Nightingale trilogy, and I don't want to spoil that because that is seriously one of my most favorite fantasy trilogies ever. So, all I can say is I love this book. I love everything about this book. The characters, the banter, the faith content, the allegory. Oh my gosh, the allegory, you guys. I cried. This book made me cry in like such a good way. And the female main character in this book, I was totally not expecting it to be her, but there is nobody else that is like more perfect for Cass. Just that's all I could say. That's all. That's all. Oh, I just love it so much. It's just so pretty, and I got my copy yesterday, and I was so excited to be able to hold it up in this video because it's just amazing. It goes so perfectly with all of my other Nightingale trilogies. It just blends right in. The cover, oh, everything about it is just gorgeous. I love it so much. Okay, that's the end of my little rant. Just read the Nightingale series, read this book, the faith content, the allegory, the characters, the settings, the high stakes in all of these books. You guys are not prepared. If you haven't read them, you're not prepared. That's all. The next book is Shelter of the Most High by Connilyn Cossette. This was also a reread. I gave it 5 stars. This is the second book in the Cities of Refuge series. This is about I think it's Sophie. It's Sofea, Sophie. That's how I would say it. She is a pagan from Sicily, and her village gets destroyed and she gets taken captive. She escapes and she ends up on the shores of Tyre, I think, where some Israelites find her and her cousin, and they take her back to the Cities of Refuge where Moriah lives. Oops, sorry, I just kicked the camera. My bad. Where Moriah lives, and yeah, so that's this is about her. I really love this book. I can't really say anything else because it's kind of spoilers for book 1. I always love biblical fiction stories where the pagan or the Gentile comes to believe in God. It's just so beautiful. And that's all you really need to know because this book is just my favorite in the series, honestly. It's just so good. And then I listened to In This Moment by Gabrielle Meyer. This was also a reread. Oops, I skipped one because I don't have the copy. Back up. First, we're going to talk about The Grump's Bodyguard by Latisha Sexton. This is book 3 in the Give a Bookish Girl a Biker series. That title, y'all, every time I try to say it in a video, it's like it gets messed up. But I really, really liked it. It is about Clover, and her parents are like movie stars, and so she needs a bodyguard because one of her mom's stunt doubles has gone crazy and she thinks she's her mom and is like coming after her. So she needs a bodyguard. And then we have Thor, who is a bodyguard. Like, he actually is a bodyguard. Like, he works for like a bodyguard service, and so he comes to like watch over her. And then the first time they meet, she hears him outside, and he didn't tell her she was coming, I guess. I don't know why. And so she meets him at the door with her pistol, and then she ends up whacking him in the face with her like handgun, and then he gets a bloody nose. It was really funny. So it's like bodyguard romance. I don't remember the other tropes, but it was really funny. I really liked it. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I really liked the romance. I thought it was really sweet. It's probably my favorite out of the whole series so far. And I don't know, I really liked it. It had a lot of good faith content too, which I think is like a pretty normal for Latisha Sexton. I think I've read a couple of her other books and I really appreciated them. So yeah, I really liked it. Okay, now we can talk about this book. In This Moment by Gabrielle Meyer. This is book 2 in the Timeless series. I listened to this audiobook because I recently listened to the first one and then I read the third one and I was like, I don't remember anything about this book and I really want to listen to it. So, this book is about Maggie and she lives in 1861, 1941, and 2001. Yeah, so she has 3 paths instead of 2 and she has to choose which one. In 1861, she's the daughter of the senator and the outbreak of the Civil War. In 1941, she is a nurse on her way to Pearl Harbor, and because she lives in 2001, she knows what happens. And then in 2001, she is a medical student in Washington, D.C. So I don't really have any super deep thoughts about this book. I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I really like that she has 3 paths instead of 1. And yeah, it adds a whole nother layer of depth. The one thing that I thought was really cool is that the Civil War and then Pearl Harbor and 9/11, yeah, all happen in the same, like, each year ends with a 1, like 1861, 1941, 2001. I thought that was really interesting. Never put that together before. Don't know why I would have, but it was really cool. The next book we're going to talk about is also a reread. It is Until the Mountains Fall by Connilyn Cossette. This is book 3 in the Cities of Refuge series. This book is about Rivka, and when her husband dies, her husband's brother offers to marry her, to carry on the family line, that law in the Bible. I don't know what it's called, but like, and then they would have a son, and then he would take his brother's last name, so his brother's line can live on. Well, she's not too big of a fan of this idea, so she decides, I'm gonna run away. That's the solution to everything. So she runs away and gets into all sorts of trouble, and then she doesn't come home, and she's gone for like a long time. And then the boy she was gonna marry, his name is Malachi, and he has loved Rivka for a really long time. And so when he gets the opportunity, and like, he's like, obviously he's sad that his brother has died, but he's like, yes, I want to marry her because not only do I love her, but I also love my brother. And then she runs away and he's like devastated. And then it's like 4 or 5 years later and he has to go rescue her because she's living in this city that I think it's going to be invaded by the Canaanites. No. Yes, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyways, I forgot how good this book was, honestly, and I forgot how intense some of the parts were. Some of the parts I was like, I forgot that happened. 5 stars. Yeah. Okay. Finally, we can talk about a book that's new to me. When Twilight Breaks by Sarah Sundin. I love Sarah Sundin, you guys. She's my favorite historical fiction author, especially World War II fiction, you guys. If you love World War II fiction, read Sarah Sundin. Especially read her Sunrise at Normandy trilogy. That's where you should start because that one is the best. Anyways, this is about Evelyn, and she is an American who is a foreign correspondent in Germany, which means she goes and she's like a reporter in Germany in 1938. And then my tongue is not working today, you guys. I'm so sorry. And then it's also about Peter Lang, who is an American professor in Germany. He's working on his PhD in German, and at first he really agrees with the Nazis about everything, like all of their, like their rules and everything, because he didn't appreciate how America was during the Great Depression with all the lawlessness and stuff. But whenever the Nazis start persecuting Jews and taking stuff really too far, he is like, wait a second, what is going on? This is not how things are supposed to be. So there's that. Yeah, and so she's trying not to offend the Nazis, and he's trying not to offend the Nazis. He starts using his ins as a Nazi sympathizer to help the Allies. So, yes, it was really good. I really liked it. It was really, really good. It's really intense. I read this book. I think I read this book in like 1 or 2 sittings because I got to like halfway through, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, how are they gonna get out of this? Like, what's gonna happen? Oh my word, it's getting worse, like the whole thing. So also, books with Nazis, they make for really good reads, but they make me so anxious and mad at the same time. Like, anxious and mad, like, oh my word, these people are terrible. So yes, Our next book is Up from Dust by Heather Kaufman. This is a biblical fiction book about Martha, and it is just so good. So touching, so sweet. I really loved it. It has a lot of extra details and stuff that is obviously fictional, but it gives Martha such a new depth, in my opinion. After I finished this, I went back and read the biblical account of Martha and Lazarus and everything, and it was just so much more impactful. I really like biblical fiction because I feel like it helps bring Bible to life, especially if you're like me and sometimes have a hard time remembering that they were real people and they have real emotions and everything. That really was really cool. I cried when I was reading this. I borrowed it from my library app, and as I was reading it, especially whenever Lazarus died and then Jesus raised him again, I just had tears running down my face. I was just tears were coming and I was just wiping away and tears kept coming. It was just the best thing ever. So I am hoping to do a video soon annotating some of my books that I read this month. I'm waiting for a few of them to come in, and then I'll probably do a video, so hopefully you guys can see that soon. But I gave this book 5 stars. It was so good. It's one of my favorite biblical fiction books. The next book we're going to talk about is The Voice We Find by Nicole Deese. This is book 3 in the Fog Harbor romance series. This one was my favorite. I love this book so much. It's about Sophie, and when her acting career kind of takes a turn for the worse, she decides to go back home to her family's vineyard to make some more money so she can get back on her feet. And she's kind of desperate to spend as little time as possible there because her brother is kind of a jerk and really mean. And so she decides that narrating audiobooks is sort of like acting, so I'm gonna do that while as a side job. And then she meets August, who is producing audiobooks as a side hustle to help pay for his sister's medical bills. And then the story kind of goes from there. I really love this story. It just had such sweet faith themes and depth in the characters. I love the characters. There's some really sweet characters in here, and I just loved the story. It was so good. I think this is probably my favorite book out of the series. I really hope it's not the last book in the series, but I wouldn't be surprised because most series from Bethany House only have 3 books. So I'll be really excited if it's not the last book, but if it is the last book, it's a good book to end the note on. My favorite part was all of the deaf representation in the ASL community in this book. It was really something I don't know too much about, so it was really interesting to read about it. And then I read Tea with Elephants by Robin Jones Gunn. This is a book about 2 kind of middle-aged women who have been friends, long-distance friends for a long time. They go to an African safari together, and they are both kind of carrying a lot of baggage when they go, and while they're there, they sort it out and grow closer to God. And I really love the faith content in this book. One of my favorite parts was one of the places they stayed in is called, I think it's called Giraffe Manor. And so if you Google this, this is a real place where at the hotel you stay at, the giraffes, you can feed the giraffes from your hotel room, and they'll stick their heads inside and you can feed them. And then I also saw some pictures of the giraffes in sticking their head through the windows in the hotel. So that was just super cool. This book made me want to go to Africa, and I can't say that I've ever wanted to go to Africa, but this book made me want to, so bad. I'm just take me now. I want to go. I want to go. That's all. This one I gave 5 stars as well. It was just really good. Really good. I really liked it. And if you guys want to hear or read my more detailed review, I posted a reel on my Instagram account, The Cozy Peddler, and it was an aesthetic reel for this book, and then the review is in the caption. So if you guys are interested, go check that out. Or also on Goodreads, you can find all my reviews for all of these books on Goodreads as well. I think my Goodreads is linked in my bio. Okay, the next book we're talking about is The Viking by Carrie Cotten. This is book 2 in the Huntress series. I really loved this book so much. I'm so sad that these books have been sitting on my TBR forever and not getting read. It is about Astrid and Éowyn, which if you guys have read The Huntress, you guys know that Astrid and Éowyn are not very friendly. So they're kind of enemies, and it's like kind of like an enemies to lovers story. It's so good. It has the best faith themes, the best characters, the best banter. The Scottish accents, you guys, are like on point. So good. Like, you know it's good when you can like read it and like hear the accents in your head. One of my favorite parts of this book is in the very beginning when Serene and Duncan send Astrid and Éowyn out into the forest so Éowyn can Astrid can teach Éowyn the Viking language. They are alone, like they're not alone, but they're not allowed to like talk to anybody else or interact with anybody else, and they have some quite humorous interactions in the very beginning that, and some of them include death threats and insults, which is so very funny. The next book is my second arc of the month, and it is Saints and Monsters by Ellen McGinty. I was gifted an art copy of this because Ellen McGinty is re-released it as a self-published book, whereas before it was published by Quill and Flame, I think. So she got all her rights for that back and came out with a pretty brand new cover, which is so gorgeous. I love it. I really enjoyed this book. It is about Mira, who is she's the second, is she the second born or the last? I can't remember, princess of this country, and she has a autoimmune disease that has something to do with her spine, and I can't remember what it's called, so I'm not gonna say it. But in her country, it's considered a curse because they don't know what else it could be, because it's like a fantasy book, so like autoimmune diseases aren't really a thing. And in this country, her sister is the heir to the throne, and whenever a princess has to become queen, the dragons have to kind of approve them and deem whether they're worthy or not, and then if they are worthy, then they will give their magic to the queen, and their magic can like bless the kingdom or whatever. But there's a problem when her sister gets cursed right before her coronation. Mira has to step up and try to save her kingdom, and things happen. Let me just tell you, things happen, because I can't really say anything else, but things happen. Okay, you guys, like, it's intense. It's like inspired by Japanese lore and stuff, which is really cool, and I've never seen that in another fantasy book before, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. 5 stars, so good. I love the characters and the romance. I think this one is enemies to lovers as well, so that was also just so good. I loved it. 5 stars. It was so good. And then I listened to A Distant Melody by Sarah Sundin. This book is about Walt, who is a B-17 bomber. He like flies they're like big bombers in World War II. And then it also is about Allie, who is a heiress who is desperate to please her mother, who thinks that she's not good enough, and she'll pretty much do anything for her mother's approval. And she and Walter meet at a friend's wedding, and they hit it off right away. And they start writing letters back and forth after he ships out to England to fly bombers. And it's World War II fiction. It's like friends to lovers. There's it's kind of like forbidden love, kind of. It was really sweet. I really liked it. I really liked how there was so much time spent on their friendship development. And then I read The Princess Companion and The Princess Fugitive by Melanie Cellier. I gave The Princess Companion 5 stars and The Princess Fugitive 4 stars. I don't really know why. I think maybe I just liked The Princess Companion a little more. The Princess Companion is a Princess in the Pea retelling, and The Princess Fugitive is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. And I liked both of them. I really like the world that they're set in. My goal is to read at least the first Kingdom series this year, kind of slowly. I'm not really like binge reading them or anything. I really like these two. I really like Melanie Cellier's writing and how they're not just like, oh, fluffy fairy tale and everything's like simple. Like there's a lot of complicated stuff happening, and I really like that. Before the King by Heather Kaufman. This is the second book in the Women of the Way series. Martha Up from Dust is the first book. And this book is about Joanna. And Joanna in the Bible, she is one of Jesus's followers, and also she is one of the women who supported Jesus' ministry. She's married to a wealthy man in King Herod's court. I don't remember what his like station was. I didn't like it quite as much as Martha's story, but I still gave it 5 stars. That is my driveway alarm. If you guys can hear that, I'm so sorry. The birds are setting it off. That's quite annoying. Anyways, so yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I don't have too many thoughts about this one. I thought it was really good. It was really emotional and impactful. I think I cried at the end of this one too, although it didn't move me quite as much as Up from Dust did. So, but I still really enjoyed it. Heather Kaufman is now one of my favorite authors. I really, really, really loved it. My last arc of April was Rogue Secreto by Victoria McCombs. This book is quite complicated, so I'm just going to read you the summary of the book and then my review that I wrote, so I don't ramble on about it, or else I'll just keep rambling and I will have to edit a bunch of stuff out. So I'm going to go grab my iPad so I can read you guys the review. And I also just unplugged my driveway alarm so that it wouldn't keep going off while we were trying to film this. Okay. Marcella has the unique ability to steal secrets with one glance. She keeps her identity hidden, all while going under the name Rogue Secreto. The Emperor hires her to read secrets of his enemies, all without realizing this masked figure who can bring empires to heel is his beloved daughter. He lures enemies to his doorstep by promising Marcella's hand in marriage, while the rogue Secreto uncovers their secrets. But Marcella has another secret. A boy she's found trapped behind a wall of water deep within forgotten ruins. As she seeks respite from the demands of her father, she's drawn to the ruins and to the boy. He becomes her escape, her most treasured secret, and she shares everything she hears with him. When Marcella gleans a secret about someone trapped behind water, she thinks she's found how to set him free. But he's been waiting 100 years to be released, and thanks to the secrets Marcella has been feeding him, he has the chance. Too late, Marcella learns why he was trapped in the first place. Okay, that's the description of the book. Oh, I gave this book 4 stars. I'm not sure if I said that earlier. Okay, and then my review. I really enjoyed this immersive dive into a world that was based on the Roman Empire. When I first saw this book announced, I was immediately intrigued by the premise of a girl who could steal someone's deepest secrets with just one glance, but was drawn to a boy trapped behind a wall of water, making it impossible for her to discover his secrets. This book does have a little bit of a darker tone, which is honestly to be expected when you're in the secret stealing business. I would say that anyone over 16 could read it no problem, but any younger than that, I would definitely preview it first, especially because everyone handles and processes things differently. I thought that Marcella was a strong character, and the way her drive shifted over the course of the story was very interesting. I really liked the way that her worldview changed, as well as how the moral dilemma she faced during the course of the story caused me to think about how I might handle things if I was in her shoes. It's so easy to be drawn into seeing only the dark and evil things in this world, and I loved the ultimate message of choosing to see the beautiful things as well as the bad things, as well as the point that we cannot be judged solely by our pasts. A side note on the religion in the novel. The main empire worships a being that speaks through fire and through the priests. Possibly this could be a representation of God, but I didn't think so. It is mentioned that another empire worships a darker being, but there is not really an explanation of what that looks like. While this clean fantasy certainly had some darker content, it was also a good reminder of the beautiful things that grow in darkness and shadows. All of that to say, it gave me a lot to think about, and I'll probably be purchasing a physical copy in the future. So, that is Rogue Secreto, 4 stars. I really liked it. I didn't like it as much as I liked Rune, because everybody knows I loved Rune, but I really liked it. It was good. Okay. And then the last book we're talking about today is Secrets in the Mist by Morgan L. Busse. This is book 1 in the Skyworld duology. They are living in this society where there is this mist that is rising, and they have to live in sky cities and on sky islands to avoid the mist that is rising, because when a person breathes in the mist, it kills the person inside, but the spores in the mist keep the body alive, and they're called the turned, so they're kind of like zombies, kind of, I guess. This book is about Cass, and Cass is a diver, which is a person who wears a mask and like dives down to the surface through the mist to search the buildings for like anything valuable or stuff that people left in their ancestral homes or whatever. It's really interesting. I read the first book, and I'm really glad I have the second book because I would really like to know what happens. I'm hoping to finish the first book here really soon. It's not too long, it's pretty short, so I really liked it, and I'm glad it's only a duology because I'm kind of burnt out on reading series right now. So it was really enjoyable, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Okay, everybody, that was my April reading wrap up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, drop a comment down below and let me know if any of these books were in your favorites of the month, or if you've read them, or what your favorite book was that you read in April. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and keep an eye out for a new video from me. I am posting every other week, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye!